we're going to open this up to a question and answer. And we purposely did it this way because we expected that we'd have a lot of questions off of what we gave you. And so we wanted to make sure that we had time for individuals to be able to specifically sit and ask questions, because I think that we can talk to you and we can show you all this stuff, but questions sometimes really get down to the root of what people are thinking and want to know. So.
Yeah, and like, you know, just to reiterate on the training piece, those required safety trainings, there's 4 CPR, first aid, and AED offerings a semester at the JTC. We're very fortunate to have our CPR instructor staff is made up of Milwaukee EMTs, individuals that are in the trenches day in and day out, actually performing CPR, which is huge when you really think about it. A lot of the CPR trainers out there have never had to actually perform CPR. So we have individuals that are really, really good at what they do, and it's a great resource for us. So those classes are readily available. The NFPA 7E classes, we put on at least 2, maybe 3 of those a semester, so 6 offerings a year. So we try to make those as readily available as possible. The other classes, so the other steps to advance, there is no education requirement or prerequisite, but you're not going to make it through that advancement without learning on that topic or going to take a class on that topic. So just don't be fooled by the fact that just because it's not a prerequisite means that you don't have to take the classes or get the education piece, because you're not going to make it through the advancement testing without it. And like Dan said, now is our question and answer point or period of the program. So if you got a question, you want to unmute your microphone, go ahead and ask, or raise your hand, or however you want to do it, or you can type it in the chat box and then we will we'll try to answer it. So there's a question in the chat box. What are the age requirements for CEs and CWs? Minimum age requirements.
Minimum age requirements. We have, in most cases, we typically we'll stick with 18, and we do that for many different reasons. I know that there are obviously there's other programs out there like youth apprenticeship that are a little bit younger, but when it comes to what we need and what we're looking for and what we expect out of a CW, it would be 18 years of older or older. So as far to Patrick and your blue mullet and purple fingernails, I can't really help you. I think that if you're going into somebody's house, you might scare people. If you go onto a job site, I don't know if you'll be accepted, but that's if that's what you like, then good for you.
Any other questions? All right, Dan, we've got another question from Dylan in our audience. Worked as an RCW for 3 months now and neglected to get the evaluation forms to my company. Will I be able to get them filled out and accounted for retroactively?
Well, Dylan, again, and as I talked in the presentation, those evaluation forms are a suggestion, and so realistically, your hours have continued to accrue, right? Because you were paid, and so if I would call and ask our funds office, ECI, how many hours you worked, you'll have all whatever hours you worked over the past 3 months. Now, what I would tell you to do is still try to go and fill those out, even if really your contractor says, hey, I don't need them. Again, this goes back to you just having that and being able to put it in a file somewhere. So again, if somebody's asking you and says, boy, haven't you ever done this before, or I'd like to send you out to this job, do you know this? You'd have something in a file that you could pull out and say, absolutely, man, I've done over 300 hours, I've done 1,000 hours of this, I got this. So But ultimately, when you talk about accounted for retroactively, those specifically do not keep you accruing hours. Hours worked are hours worked, and when we look at, and if there's ever a question about what your hours are, we will always go to the fund office and ask them what hours were reported on you over the last, whether it be 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever we need.
Dylan, in addition to that, I noticed that you put that you are an RCW, which now with the advent of our residential training program, your advancement process is different than the regular CW program. So you're as an RCW, and if your intention is to stay as an RCW and work your way through the residential training program, you have a little bit different advancement process, and there are some different training classes that you're required to take or credits that you're required to earn. And I was going to touch on this, right before we let everybody go for the night, but additionally, we're going to be having 2 more forums like this on November 16th. One is going to be on the new residential training program, and one is going to be on the sound and communication, the new sound and communication training program. So Dylan, certainly if you want more information on the residential training program and the advancement, absolutely attend that forum on November 16th. Invites will be going out and announcements will be going out for that tomorrow. Or you can contact the JATC office or the IBW office, and we can get you some of that information as well. Another question from Al. Does the state recognize the JW test given to the CE5 for Wisconsin JW licensing?
So Al, I believe you mispunt, but 2, if they're taking whatever the IBW has, that they have them do is one thing. In order to get their JW licensure, so get away from the registered electrician license, they're going to have to go to the state of Wisconsin and take that test. And that should be an automatic also, is actually once you have over 8,000 hours, you're able to go and take that test, and you should, if you have that ability and you feel you have the knowledge needed. And by the way, again, Kyle offers classes that you can take to be able to kind of practice taking that test and getting ready for it. But yes, if they take the state exam, obviously then and pass it, that would count towards it. But we don't specifically here at the JATC have any test that would cover that. They'd have to take the test at the state.